Hello viewers, yes, this is Ranjana ma'am and you're watching Yes, it's mine as well as your channel. And yes, I have got several requests regarding Tithonus. Many of you said, ma'am, we cannot manage Tithonus, please. So yes, Tithonus, it's actually based on a Greek myth. Tithonus was supposed to be a prince, the son of a king, and the goddess of dawn, Eos, she had fallen in love with Tithonus. Imagine a goddess falling in love, so he must be really so handsome that she fell in love with him. And as a result, Tithonus felt proud, he felt he is different from other human beings. And the goddess, she granted him the boon of immortality, or rather she asked the king of the gods to grant Tithonus the blessing of immortality so that he could live with her forever. But one thing she forgot to ask: gods are not only immortal but they have eternal youth, they don't age with the times. And this she forgot to ask on behalf of Tithonus. And as a result, what happened? When so long as Tithonus was young, he enjoyed his life with Eos. But with the passing of time, he started getting old. But there was no respite for him because he went on getting older and older, like we human beings. When we get old, after that death comes and relieves us of our old age sufferings. But for Tithonus that was not to be. He was blessed with immortality. So as a result he kept on getting older and older but no death. And then when he looks at Eos, the goddess of dawn, and he feels, my God, this blessing has become as if a curse for him, because he cannot match with the passion of Eos. He has become cold, and naturally he regrets. He feels sorry. He feels that the people who are granted death, the human beings, normal human beings who lead normal lives and then go to their graves, they are fortunate. And he wants that Eos should take back, or his beloved, the goddess of dawn, should take back the blessing. Even Eos feels sorry for him because he sees tears in her eyes. And then that horrible truth dawns on him that even gods, they are helpless. Once they have given a boon, they have granted a boon, they themselves also cannot take it back. So Eos is equally helpless. So this is the story of Tithonus, but in the original Greek myth, it was said that finally, taking pity on Tithonus's condition, his beloved, the goddess of dawn, changed him into a grasshopper. But in this story, Tennyson has molded it according to his own wishes. So here nothing is told to us about the grasshopper. It is only said that how Tithonus laments because he feels that human beings, it is a lesson taught also that human beings should not aspire for immortality. Immortality is for the gods, because immortality without eternal youth becomes a curse. So human beings should remain within their limitations. They shouldn't aspire to become like gods. So this is a short summary of Tithonus. So before we read the poem, it's better that you know this so that you can understand it well. But you know what's coming? If you have not subscribed to my channel up till now, please do. And don't forget to press the like button. I'm sure you'll like it. So yes, this poem, the Tithonus, has been written by Alfred Tennyson, Lord Alfred Tennyson. He was a poet of the Victorian age and also the poet laureate, having written quite a few memorable poems. You all must have learnt or read some of his poems, like The Charge of the Light Brigade, Break Break. That is a short one. He had written it when his best friend Arthur Hallam had died, and he had written this poem. And then The Brook. You must have read it in your earlier classes, but this Tithonus is quite serious. It's yes, it's in the higher level. It's for the advanced students like you all are learning it in your ISC. It is not given in ICSC. This is my second term of Tithonus. Quite a few years back also this was in the ISC syllabus, and it has been brought back again. So Tithonus, I gave you the summary, I gave you the background of it, and let's continue with the poem now. The woods decay and fall. The vapors weep their burden to the ground. Man comes and tills the field and lies beneath. And after many a summer dies the swan. So the first few lines give you an idea that every living being, they finally, in the last stages of their suffering, they meet with death, like the woods. At one time they grow into a full-fledged tree, and then what happens? Finally, after the passing of time, they decay and then they fall. That means they meet their death. The woods, they meet their death. The vapors weep their burden to the ground. The water vapors rise high to the sky, and when the clouds cannot hold the water vapors anymore, then they drop to the earth as rain. So that is actually as if the weeping of the vapors. The vapors weep their burden. When they are unable to hold the water vapors for long, the cloud lets them fall down to the earth as rain. So the vapors weep their burden to the ground. And now regarding man. Man comes and tills the field and lies beneath. So man, he comes, he does his work, and then finally at the end of his life he meets his death and lies beneath. That means he is in his grave. So he tills the soil and then he is buried under the soil. And after many a summer dies the swan. Yes, in this way the swan also meets its end. So through these, what is he trying to hint at? That every living being, they have their decay and death. Whatever is born has to die. A living being has to die. There should be an end. But poor fellow, he says, me only cruel immortality consumes. I wither slowly in thine arms, here at the quiet limit of the world. A white-haired shadow roaming like a dream, the ever-silent spaces of the east, far-folded mists and gleaming halls of morn. So, after having talked about those things which meet with death, decay and death, he talks about himself. He is not like these. He is not like the common human, ordinary human beings. He is not like the swan or the woods or the vapor. Why? Because he has been granted the blessing of immortality. So he says that he is consumed by immortality. So he has become old. So he has naturally become weak. He has lost his vigor, his strength which he had in the past, and he is decaying in the arms of his beloved. I told you his beloved is Eros, the goddess of dawn. So which side should you find her? In the east, because it is in the eastern side which the sun rises. So the goddess of dawn lives in the eastern side, not D-O-N dawn, it's D-A-W-N dawn, right? That means that time of the day when night ends and morning, the sun is yet to rise, the interim period, that is called dawn. So she is the goddess of dawn, goddess Eros. So he is in her arms, but he has lost his strength, as if he is dying. He is not dying, but he is withering away in her arms. He has become a shadow of his former self. So earlier he was so handsome, so vigorous, and now he has become a shadow. Here at the quiet limit of the world, a white-haired shadow roaming like a dream the ever-silent spaces of the east, far-folded mists and gleaming halls of morn. So he seems like a shadow, Why? And he is become very old, his hair has turned white, and the place through which he keeps on roaming, that is the eastern side where he lives with Eros. So that is the eastern side, and he keeps on roaming in that region which is covered with mist. But he can see the light and shine from a distance. Though he is in the eastern side, but he can see the light and shine of the early morning from a distance. So in these lines we find the sad picture of Tithonus. He is not happy. So people might think, oh, he's so lucky that he is the beloved of Eros. A goddess has chosen him, he is the chosen one. So that is what he had felt when she had chosen him, but not now, because his immortality has become a burden for him. It's very difficult for him to bear his existence anymore, to carry on living and living and living, and growing older and older and older. See, even the gods, they keep on living, but they have eternal youth, so no problem for them. But for Tithonus, and there is no respite for him. Alas, for this grey shadow, once a man, so glorious in his beauty and thy choice, who madest him thy chosen, that he seemed to his great heart none other than a god. I asked thee, give me immortality. Then didst thou grant mine, asking with a smile, like wealthy men, who care not how they give. So he is calling himself a grey shadow. He is not that handsome man that he was in his youth, who had got the attention even of a goddess. And he was so beautiful, so handsome, that she had chosen him to become her beloved. The goddess of the dawn, she had chosen him to become her beloved. And he felt that I am no less than a god because the goddess has chosen me. And then what did he ask of her? He told that give me immortality. Why? So that he could live with her forever. And then she smiled and granted his request. But how did she give it? Like rich people now, when they are walking and a beggar comes and asks for alms, and he doesn't look at the person but just gives it in a careless fashion. So the goddess also gave the blessing without thinking twice. She didn't think that he also needed eternal youth to be by her side. He asked for the blessing and she gave it without thinking. So just see the simile here, like wealthy men who care not how they give. But what happened later? So long as he was young, both of them enjoyed a life of bliss. But age started telling on him. He didn't remain that young person that he was, while Eros every day she remained the same. But thy strong hours indignant work their wills and bet me down and marred and wasted me. And though they could not end me, left me maimed to dwell in presence of immortal youth. Immortal age beside immortal youth. So here he says that the time when Eros gave him the gift of eternal life without eternal youth. So as a result, what happened with the passing of time? So time is very powerful with human beings. So with the passing of time, he didn't remain as young as his beloved remained. So what did they do? So here hours are being personified. That means time is being personified as very powerful and angry that a human should try to become like a god. What did they do? They as if bet him down, marred and wasted him. That means with the passing of age, the sufferings of old age came. With the passing of age, and as he grew old, all the old age sufferings came, but there was no relief. What happens when people grow old and the sufferings of old age come, and finally there is relief in death? But for him, no relief. He has to go on and on and on and be treated cruelly by time and hour. So they couldn't kill him, they could not end me. This human being has dared to become like a god. So as if time and hour they are persecuting him, and though they could not kill him because of the blessing which he had received from Eros, but still he became as if physically disabled, left me maimed, physically unable to dwell in presence of immortal youth. Who is being referred to as immortal youth? His beloved, the goddess. She is immortal youth, and they and time or hour left him beside immortal youth as immortal age. He is as if immortal age, without any death, deathless person, but older, growing older every day. And all I was in ashes. Ashes is symbolic of decay and decay. So he is as if like ashes. He has lost his vigor. He has as if become cold. Ashes are symbolic of death and decay, but here there is no death for him. But the passion within him has died, because every day he is slowly withering away. He is becoming older. So that passion of his youth has gone, has left him. Eternal youth, Eos. Eos is always the young person she is, with life full of passion, and that he should live beside her, personifying eternal age. Can thy love, thy beauty make amends, though even now close over us the silver star thy guide shines in those tremulous eyes that fill with tears to hear me. Let me go, take back thy gift. Why should a man desire in any way to vary from the kindly race of men, or pass beyond the goal of ordinance, where all should pause, as is most meet for all? So here we find a lamentation and regret. Regret for what? For the blessing he had asked Eros, the blessing he had asked from Eros. He is as if regretting. He feels, yeah, can your beauty and your love compensate because of his of her careless gifting of the immortality, the blessing of immortality? He is suffering so much, but can your beauty and love make amends? So even now he feels that she has feelings for him, though it's not a passionate one, but she feels sad for him. There are tears in her eyes, shines in those tremulous eyes that fills with tears to hear me. So when she hears her beloved speak in this manner, she feels sad for him. It's not that she has become indifferent or cold towards him, but she feels sorry that she had not thought of this earlier while granting him the boon of immortality. So now that he has become aged, he is every day getting older and older, she realizes her mistake, and there are tears in her eyes. So he wails or he moans in front of her, let me go, please relieve me from this miserable life. Take back thy gift. Yes, the gift which you had given, and I had thought that I am so lucky. So please take away that gift. That means take away the gift of immortality from me. Why should a man, so this is the rhetoric question, why should a man desire in any way to vary from the kindly race of men or pass beyond? So that means a man should never desire in any way to be different from the race of men. And he had desired that. He had tried to be different. Why? Because a goddess had fallen in love with him. So he had thought that I am no less than a god. So give me the blessing of immortality. And now he realizes his mistake and he regrets it. And he says that why should a man desire in any way to vary, that means to be different from the kindly race of men, or pass beyond the goal of ordinance, where all should pause as is most meet for all? Yeah, this is the most desirable for all, to pause or to stop. That means stop how or when? Stop in death. Every living being, they have to stop once, that is in death. But for him there is no stopping, he has to go on and on and on. Why? Because of the blessing that he had asked of his beloved and it had been granted to him. So what a miserable life he is leading. The old age sufferings are there and no respite in death. So a soft air fans the clouds apart. There comes a glimpse of the dark world where I was born. Once more the old mysterious glimmer steals from thy pure brows, and from thy shoulders pure, and bosom beating with a heart renewed. Thy cheeks begin to redden through the gloom. Thy sweet eyes brighten slowly close to mine, ere yet they blind the stars and the wild team which love thee. Yearning for thy yoke, arise and shake the harness from the loosened manes, and beat the twilight into flakes of fire. So this stanza very beautifully describes slowly how morning comes, how dawn or the goddess of dawn, she comes, and after that slowly how the world fills with light. Beautifully described. Just see these lines. So the darkness which is reduced with the arrival of the goddess of dawn, and how the world fills with light. A soft air fans the clouds apart. So the cloud, they are as if moved aside, and the glimpse, and then he sees the dark world where he was born. So he is in the eastern side, and from there he can get a look, he can glance at the world, dark world where he was born, and how this dark world becomes brighter with the coming of dawn. Once more the old mysterious glimmer steals from thy pure brows. So from darkness into light. So every day as if it's a new birth for Eros. Every day she has that same youth, that same beauty. So she doesn't age with the passing of days. Every day when she makes her appearance, she arrives in this eastern side, she makes her appearance on the eastern side, she keeps on glowing slowly, slowly, slowly in all her beauty and vigor. Just see these lines. From thy pure brows and from thy shoulders pure, and bosom beating with a heart renewed. So every day her beauty is renewed, the heart is as young as ever and beating in the same manner as it used to beat in the past and will keep on beating in future. No changes. Thy cheeks begin to redden. The cheeks, yes, glowing. It has not lost its color. It starts getting red. Yesterday it was this, now also it starts getting red. Through the gloom. So first there is darkness, and the pall of darkness is moved aside, and then slowly, slowly, slowly the approach of dawn, and how the redness fills the sky. Thy sweet eyes brighten slowly close to mine. Yet they blind the stars. So the sun or the light of the dawn is being referred to. Before, so long as there is darkness, you can see the stars. But once the sky is filled with light, the stars are still there, but they are not visible. So they blind the stars. That means the stars cannot see you, or rather the stars are not visible. When the light of the morning spreads all around the sky, then the stars become invisible. So he's very nicely, Lord Tennyson says, before they blind the stars, that means before the stars become blind, or before rather they become invisible. And the wild team, what is he referring to? The sun with its 7 horses. So the wild team which love thee, yearning for thy yoke, they are ready to bear the burden of the morning. Arise and shake the darkness from the loosened manes. So as if the horses, they shake the darkness. So how brightness comes and fills the sky and the world. That is the goddess of dawn, Eros, who shines in all her splendor with her beauty, renewed beauty every day, day in and day out. And beat the twilight into flakes of fire. Twilight is that time when night ends and day has not yet begun. And then what happens? Slowly the twilight turns into morning, bright sunny morning. And beat the twilight, so the twilight doesn't remain for long, and then it changes into the flakes of fire. Lo, ever thus thou growest beautiful in silence. Then before thine answer given departest, and thy tears are on my cheek. So yes, lo means behold. And you, in this way, you grow beautiful, and you grow beautiful without making any sound, in silence. And then before you have answered me, before you have given me the answer which I seek for, please take back the gift which you have given, but you don't reply. You leave and go, departest. That means you leave me and go, but while you leave, a drop of tear falls from your eyes on my cheek. So what does this symbolize? That she too is helpless. She cannot do anything to relieve him of his misery. She cannot take back the blessing she has given. And that is why she feels sad at his miserable situation, and a tear from her eyes falls on his cheek. It is symbolic of the helplessness even of a goddess. Wilt thou ever scare me with thy tears, and make me tremble lest a saying learnt in days far off on that dark earth be true? The gods themselves cannot recall their gift. So this is what had been told in that dark earth to which he belonged. So he had heard it many days off. And what had he heard? The gods themselves. That means once a blessing is given, even the gods don't have the power to take it back. So a blessing given is a blessing given. If they have given you a gift, they cannot take it back. She had given him the gift of immortality, so she cannot take it back. Even the gods are powerless to take back a gift. So he says that the tears in your eyes, they scare me, they frighten me. I tremble. Why? Because it reminds me of something which I had heard in that dark world. When I was a part of this world, I had heard that even gods are helpless, and once they give a gift, they cannot take it back. Me, with what another heart in days far off, and with what other eyes I used to watch. If I be he that watched, the lucid outline forming round thee, saw the dim curls kindle into sunny rings, changed with thy mystic change, and felt my blood glow with the glow that slowly crimsoned all. thy presence and thy portals, while I lay, mouth, forehead, eyelids, growing dewy warm, with kisses balmier than half-opening buds of April, and could hear the lips that kissed, whispering I knew not what of wild and sweet, like that strange song I heard Apollo sing, while Ilion like a mist rose into towers. So now he is reminiscing the past. So there was a time when he was very handsome, and the love that he had felt for his beloved and the love she showered on him. So he has, as if he started doubting if this he and that he, they are the same person. So in days far off, that means he has lived quite a long life. So in days far off, with what other eyes? So that eyes and these eyes are not the same. These are the eyes of an old person. And that eyes, that was the eyes of a young man, glowing with life. I used to watch. What would he watch? The coming of dawn, his beloved. When she would make her appearance, when she would approach, she would be seen on the eastern horizon. If I be he that watch, the lucid, the clear outline forming round thee, saw the dim curves kindle into sunny rings. So actually here the morning, from early morning till the late morning, slowly how the darkness is dispelled and brightness slowly fills the sky. Everything the sky becomes red with the sunrise. The dim curves kindle into sunny rings, change with thy mystic change. Yeah, and it's not the same. Every moment there is a change. First darkness revealed semi-darkness. Darkness removed semi-darkness, then brightness, but not much. And then slowly the brightness becomes much more. It becomes brighter and brighter. So as in the case of human beings also, they take birth and then the child grows every month, every year, and then he turns into a man or a woman. But then what happens? Finally there is decay and death. But for Eros or the other gods, there is no decay or death. Every day she comes with the same vigor. And what would he feel? He would watch her. Yeah, that time he was a young man and he was equally in love. She had chosen him, so he felt proud, and how he would watch her. Slowly how she made her appearance, how she filled the sky with redness, glow with the glow, and he would also feel happy. He would be glowing with youth to answer the loving glances of his beloved, and felt my blood glow with the glow that slowly crimsoned all thy presence and thy portals, while I lay. So he would be lying down to be loved by her. I lay, mouth, forehead, eyelids growing dewy warm, and he would feel his mouth and forehead, eyelids becoming warm. Why? Because she would be kissing him. The love kisses of his beloved, he would experience them on his mouth, eyelids, forehead. Balmier, that means more soothing than the half opening buds of April. After spring, April is the month when the ice melts and the flowers and buds, they become, means during winter what happens? The trees are covered with snow. But in April the snow melts and then the leaves appear and you find the buds in the trees and they are opening up. So slowly the buds would be opening up in the month of April. But that was a soothing, that is a soothing sight. But the kisses, the passionate kisses of his beloved on his forehead and lips seemed to be much more soothing. And while she kissed, she spoke of things, maybe very erotic, wild and sweet, erotic things, but he couldn't understand. Like that strange song I heard Apollo sing, while Ilion like a mist rose into towers. So the words of Eos he could not understand. They appeared strange to her, strange to him. In the same way, when he had heard Apollo, Apollo is supposed to be the sun god, and it is said or that he had created the towers of Troy with his music. He played the music. He played the music means he played the flute. And with this music, the towers of Troy was created, and that is why it was said to be invincible. You must have read about the Trojan horse and the battle of Troy between the Greeks and the Trojans. So it was said that the towers of Troy, the fort of Troy, it was invincible. So Apollo's flute music created the towers of Troy, and it came as if from the mist. The towers rose as if from the mist. So here also we find in this stanza that Tithonus is remorseful. He regrets that he had asked his beloved for the gift of immortality, because now he feels that this has become a burden. And he talks of those days before he was granted this blessing. But this blessing has ruined everything, ruined his love, ruined his life. And it also shows the suffering and the pain which he experiences on account of this blessing. Yet hold me not forever in thine east. How can my nature longer mix with thine? Coldly thy rosy shadows bathe me. Cold are all thy lights, and cold my wrinkled feet. Upon thy glimmering thresholds, when the steam floats up from those dim fields above the homes of happy men that have the power to die, and grassy barrows of the happier dead, release me and restore me to the ground. Thou seest all things. Thou wilt see my grave. Thou wilt renew thy beauty morn by morn. I, earth in earth, forget these empty courts, and thee returning on thy silver wheels. So he doesn't feel that passion which Eos had felt for him. He cannot reciprocate it. Why? Because he has become cold. So he requests, it's a fervent appeal to the goddess, that please don't keep me in this state of immortality forever with you in the east. He lives in the east with her, but he wants to be released from this bondage. It's not bondage, but he wants to be relieved from this blessing, or rather at this moment it is a curse of immortality. So he wants to go back to the world from where he had come. Why? Because he feels that now your nature and my nature, they don't really match. He is as if age, eternal age, and she is eternal beauty. So how can the natures match? And she is an immortal goddess, and Tithonus is an immortal old man. She will be forever young. She is forever young. She will be forever young. But he is affected by old age. So she has eternal youth. That is why forever she will never grow old. She will remain forever young. But he is decaying with every passing day, and no death for him. So this is a curse. So he feels his feet trembling. He finds himself trembling when he is at her cold threshold. Threshold is the part where you go out of your house or you enter your house, that borderline, that border is the threshold. So when he looks at the steam floating from the homes of the men, that means he looks at the world to where he used to be a part, that world, and he sees the steam floating from the house of men who are lucky, who are fortunate to die. They are happy that finally death will come to them to release them of their suffering, of their old age, of their pains. But for him, no relief. And he feels that they don't have to suffer on account of immortality. So when he had asked for the blessing, he had never thought this, that old age can, immortality can become a curse. This thought had not appeared to him. It had not struck his mind. But now he feels that these people, they are lucky, they are happy. Why? Because they don't have to face immortality. They don't have to continue growing older and older and older, whereas I have to. They are lucky people. They will die and go to their graves. And who are the luckier ones? Who are already buried in their graves. Because they don't have to suffer the miseries of old age and growing older and older without any relief. So when he looks at the graves of the men who have died, men are mortal. We have read it everywhere. Men are mortal. No man is immortal. But he had gone for immortality. He had tried to be at par with the gods. And this is why, as if he has been cursed. Oh, you want to become a god? Okay, become a god with immortality, but you don't have the youth. 1 minute. So, he feels that his beloved, the goddess, will also understand when he sees him going to his grave. If she relieves him of this burden of immortality by realizing his pain and all that, then he will go to his grave and she can every day see him in the grass covered with which has covered his grave. So she will be looking at it. It's not that she will not she will bid goodbye to him forever. She will be able to look at him from the skies, look at him, rather look at his grave. And what will he do? He will not remember her. Why? Because he is dead and gone. So he will not remember her, because he knows that his beauty and youth cannot be matched with his. So he wants to bid goodbye to her. So just see how much pathos is there when he appeals to his beloved, release me and restore me to the ground. That means let me go to the ground, let me go to my grave. Release me from what? From this bond of immortality, from this blessing of immortality. Relieve me. Let me go to my grave. So let me go to restore me to the ground. He doesn't want to live in the east anymore, where the goddess lives. Thou seest all things, thou wilt see my grave. Since you are a goddess, you will be able to see me. If you want, you will be able to see my grave. I'll be lying under the grave. Thou wilt renew thy beauty morn by morn. So every morning your beauty will be renewed, because you have the eternal youth in you. I, earth in earth, forget these empty courts. So I will not remember these courtships, your courtships. I will be dying in peace. I will be under my, resting in my grave, forgetting your courtings, and thee returning on thy silver wheels. And you will be returning on your silver wheels again to come back the next morning. So this is how we realize, or through this poem, what does Tennyson try to tell us? Lord Tennyson tries to tell us that we humans should not cross our limitations. For us it is to die. That is natural. Death is natural for the mortal people, and we humans should not aspire to become gods, because Immortality is not for us, it is for gods, and they also have eternal youth. When we don't have eternal youth, immortality becomes a curse, just like Tithonus realizes it much later. And so we human beings should lead our life as human beings do, as others do, and not try to become different from the race of humanity, not try to surpass these limits, because in the end suffering comes to us only if we try to cross the limits. If we don't realize our limitation, it is we who will suffer. So this is quite a touching poem. And what are the things we should keep in mind? So what is the theme? Actually, I told you this story, so this poem, as I said, is based on the Greek myth of Prince Tithonus. And through this, Tennyson tries to highlight this fact that immortality is not for human beings. It is mortality for us. Immortality is only for gods, and there has been no exception to this rule. And this theme has been emphasized forcefully throughout the poem. So if we try to become immortal, or if we are given immortality as a blessing, it doesn't remain a blessing without eternal youth. Then it becomes a curse. So this is the poem of Tithonus. It was a lengthy one. Many of you had requested it, and I'm sure now you all don't have any problems. Okay, so yes, remember this. Bye for the time being. Have a happy week ahead.